Hello kids, it's time for a geometry lesson. You might be wondering, why does she have an apple and an orange on her desk? Well, it's because I want to remind you that you know the name of this thing and you know the name of this thing because you have seen them and eaten them and you are familiar with them for years. So you know the names of these and it's easy for you. And I want you to know that you can learn the names that we use in a geometry unit if you practice and if you keep working at it. So you are a smart individual with a brain that thinks. And if you can learn the name of an apple and an orange, which you can learn the names of geometric figures. It just takes practice and exposure or time using it. So let's start. Today I want you to get a piece of paper and a pencil, and I'm going to have you write down, I don't know, maybe 8 or so words that I want you to practice using. And writing them down isn't going to be the only way that you learn them, but it's a good start. So pause the video, go get what you need, and come back and get ready to write. Okay, so I forgot to remind you. In order to do your math today, you will need to look on the teacher's manual on page 67 so that you can see the shapes that you need for your workbook pages. And that's also true for some of the other lessons in this unit too. So parents, you're going to need to make sure that you have opened up that teacher's manual so that your kids can see the page. You don't need to print it, but they at least need to be able to see the pictures on page 67 in the teacher's manual. Okay, and kids, if you're on your own, you can do it too. That manual is located right in your folder this week. So let's start. When we're learning geometry terms, we often look at the attributes of the figures. And attributes is just a big word that means the features or traits of the figure. If we were thinking about your attributes, we might be able to say, you know, you have blue eyes or brown hair. Or you are well, you're not 5 feet tall. At least I don't think you are. But we can look at your features and we could sort you into groups by your attributes. If we were at the carpet, I would say all my blonde-haired kids come over here, brown-haired kids go over here, and we would be sorting you out by your attributes. So it's just a big word that I wanted to make sure you understood. It's in your directions today on your workbook page. The next thing that you need a refresher on are right angles. Sometimes when we're thinking about shapes, we look at their angles. Now remember, an angle is where two sides meet, side, side, and we could say that the angle that is formed where two sides meet, put a dot, that's where the angle is. We can measure that and we can decide what kind of angle it is. Well, a right angle is where a square corner is formed, and an index card is actually a good right angle tool. So you could use your index card and hold it up to a figure or a shape, and you could see, does it make a square corner? Well, if it does, that's a right angle. It actually has a measurement called 90 degrees, but we won't be measuring angles anytime soon. So let's test one. That one is 90 degrees, but how about this figure? If I hold my right angle tool up to where two sides meet, I can see that the angle is bigger than 90. So this is not a right angle. This doesn't make a square corner, and neither does this one. Let's see, two sides meet at the point, at the angle right there. Oh, I can't even hold it. Yep, that's less than 90, isn't it? It's a smaller angle. So sometimes we look at the attributes or the angles of a figure to sort them out together. So I could say, okay, here's another one. These two have right angles. This one does not. So we are sorting our shapes out. Now, another word you need to know is a polygon. And you can pause this and write it. But a polygon is any closed shape with straight sides. So I had done this before. Here are a few that are not polygons. This doesn't have straight sides, and it also wasn't closed, not a polygon. This has straight sides, but it has a big opening. That's not a polygon. This one I left an opening. This has a lot of straight sides and it's closed, but this side is not straight, so that's not a polygon. And this weird thing that I invented, this has straight sides and it's a closed figure, so yay, this one's a polygon. So a polygon is a closed shape with straight sides. Anything with an opening, not a polygon. The next one that you need to know is a quadrilateral, and quad is a word part that means four. So a quadrilateral is a polygon with four straight sides. You can see a few of them right here. Look at all these quadrilaterals. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, sorry, it's a little bit leggy. 1, 2, 3, 4. These are all four-sided polygons, so they are called quadrilaterals. Kids, things can have two names. Apple, orange, yes, but they are both fruit, right? So we can name things in more than one way. And that's what this geometry is about. This one I want to take just a second talking about trapezoids. Put a star here by this one, because if your parents are listening or helping you, this is a slight shift, a little bit of a change from the way we grew up thinking about trapezoids. When we were learning, we would have always called this a trapezoid. We would have said a trapezoid is a quadrilateral, four-sided figure with one set of parallel lines. One set. That's the way your parents and I grew up saying it. One set of parallel lines, lines that are not going to touch. Well, this new curriculum says that it is a quadrilateral with at least one set of parallel lines. And that at least definition that they are using, that means that it could have more than one set of parallel lines. So this is an example of a trapezoid, but you know what? This is also an example of a trapezoid. It is a quadrilateral, a four-sided figure with at least one set of parallel lines. These two lines are never going to touch. That means they're parallel. And these two lines are never going to touch. That means they're parallel. Let me just define that for you more carefully. Kids, if you think of the letter H, the sides are lines that are never going to touch. Even if you write it slanty, the outsides are never going to touch. So I just put the H there to help you remember, but that that line doesn't need to be there when you think about a parallel line. Here are a few other sets just so you can see them. Parallel lines are never going to intersect. So what is not parallel? Well, here are some examples. If I had these two lines and I were to extend them, we could see that they do cross each other. They intersect. We can extend the lines and they cross. They intersect. If you have lines that intersect, they are not parallel. They are not parallel. So just to review, a trapezoid is a quadrilateral that has at least one set of parallel lines, and we can even sort other things if they have more than one set as a trapezoid. Okay, next one, a rhombus. A rhombus is a polygon with four equal sides. Equal. I'm making a big deal about the word equal here because we're talking about the measurement of their sides, how long they are. So a polygon with four equal sides, if we were to measure the length of these sides, they're not actually perfect, but don't tell anybody. But if we were to take a ruler and measure how long this is, you know, like 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, 2 centimeters, that would be a rhombus if they have 4 equal sides. Here's another one. This is a special kind of rhombus, which we'll spend a lot of time talking about. Maybe this one was 2.5 centimeters, or 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch, 1.5 inch. When they have 4 equal sides, those are called a rhombus. And if you're just curious, like, how can these both be called a rhombus? Or like, my whole life I thought this was a square. Well, a square is a special rhombus that has 4 right angles, but we'll talk about that more down the road. So could we say that this is a polygon? I mean, a rhombus? No, because these sides are much shorter than these, and in a rhombus you have to have 4 equal sides. Could this be a rhombus? No, it is a polygon, but they're not equal. This side is much shorter than these ones. So I hope that helps you understand rhombus. Now the last thing we're going to talk about is a diagonal line. Now a diagonal is a line that you draw from corner to corner, opposite corners. So I've done one here for you. I'll scooch this up a little bit. So I took opposite corners and I drew a line. And when I cut the line, I turned my quadrilateral into 2 triangles. So there is a problem in your Learn book where you will be thinking about diagonal, and I need to make sure you know what that meant. So I know I have not done the problems for you today, but I'm hoping that if you listened carefully, if you looked at some of the examples I had, it will help you to do the work. So please save this page. Oh, what in the world? I didn't even finish. There's still one more. So a parallelogram. I'm sorry, I thought I was done. A parallelogram is a 4-sided polygon with 2 sets of parallel lines. So parallel lines. Okay, let me find one in my pile. Here's a 4-sided, I'll slide these over. Here's a 4-sided polygon, and it has 2 sets of parallel lines. Remember, parallel means the lines are never going to touch each other. So this line down here, this side, is never going to touch that side. That's one pair or one set of parallel lines. And this side here is never going to touch this side here if we were to extend it. So that's 2 sets of parallel lines. So this is also a parallelogram. So this figure here, we could sort this by its attributes. We could say it has right angles. We could call it, yep, it's a polygon. We could call it a quadrilateral. Could we call this a trapezoid? Is it a quadrilateral with at least 1 set of parallel lines? Well, yeah, it is. We could call this thing a trapezoid. We could call it a rhombus because the sides are equal. And we also could name it a parallelogram. So one figure, and the square is a very special figure. One figure can have many names, boys and girls, and this is what you need to keep practicing and working with. Let's look at this one. Is this a parallelogram? Well, okay, I actually didn't cut it perfectly. It's supposed to be. If I had cut it perfectly, this parallelogram has 4 sides and 2 sets of parallel lines that are never, in a perfect world, never going to touch. But is this a parallelogram? No. It only has 1 set of lines that are never going to touch. These are going to intersect somewhere. So as you're working on your geometry again, you'll be thinking about, oh, this is a parallelogram too, isn't it? You'll be thinking about attributes. And in geometry, attributes are angles, side lengths, numbers of sides, and then, you know, those parallel lines. So I hope this helps you as you're sorting out your terms this week. or today in your lesson. Have a great day, boys and girls, and please ask if you have questions.